So this is the brand new Garmin Instinct 3 Tactical, but this is also the brand new Garmin Instinct 3 Tactical. That's because like the Garmin Instinct 3 that came out a few months ago, the new Tactical Edition is offering both an AMOLED display as well as a mid-base display. Of course, the base Instinct 3 also added a boatload of features that I've been testing and putting through their paces for the past few months, including 12-hour-long treks into the night and plenty more. But in this video, I'm going to explain and focus on the key differences between the Tactical Edition and the non-Tactical Edition of the Instinct 3. While the units are very similar, there are some differences, both hardware and a ton more in the software side that differentiate them. However, the very first thing that differentiates them is simply the price. In a nutshell, the Tactical Editions are $100 more than the base editions. So for the AMOLED display, that means that it's $599 US for the Tactical Edition compared to $499 previously. And then for the Solar Edition, that has two different sizes. The 45mm size is $499, and then the 50mm size is $549. And that gets right into kind of the second thing to know is that on the Tactical AMOLED Edition, there's only one size, 50mm, versus the MIP screen, which has the Solar in it. That one has two different sizes, one at 45mm and one at 50mm. That's notable because on the base editions, there are both 45 and 50mm of both AMOLED and mid-base displays, but not on the Tactical side of things. So let me just take 2 seconds to explain the difference between an AMOLED display and a MIP-based display. In the past, all of the Garmin Instinct devices have been MIP-based displays. In the case of the Instinct, that meant they're monochrome, but there are plenty of other color-based MIP-based displays. And the main goal of the MIP-based display is to give you very long battery life. However, in recent years, you're seeing more and more watches, including the majority of Garmin's watch line, going to AMOLED displays. Those displays are much more brilliant, but they do take up more battery and thus won't last as long as a MIP-based display. In 2025, visibility, even in the bright sun, is not an issue for AMOLED displays. It's factually not. I have been literally everywhere in the world, from the deserts of the Middle East to Africa to all over the US, and no problem seeing an AMOLED display in the brightest of conditions across the board. Period. But of course, it's still going to burn more battery life than a mid-base display, especially in the case of the Instinct, because the Instinct also has solar. And for the Instinct 3 in particular, the entire lineup, all of the mid-base displays have solar on them. There's no like solar or non-solar options, they're just all solar, versus the AMOLED displays do not have solar. Now, moving on from displays for at least a second here, is that the Instinct 3, the base editions released a few months ago, did add a boatload of new features. And I've got a full in-depth review about those features up in the corner right there, or here's just the handy list of all the new features in one shot there. I'm all about efficiencies. And so if you do appreciate those efficiencies, just watch this video all the way through. That's the only thing the YouTube gods care about, and it really does help out this video and the channel quite a bit. Now, one of the display things I will point out here that carries into the Tactical Edition is the much clearer display compared to past Instinct editions. The clarity on the Instinct 3, as well as even actually the Instinct E, is much better, much crispier than it was on the older Instinct 2 and 2X series. Okay, so with all those bits out of the way, let's talk about the actual differences between the Tactical and non-Tactical editions, starting off on the hardware side. The very first one is the LED flashlight. Both of these watches have an LED flashlight. If I turn it on there, there's the white light, and I can go all the way down here to the green light. And the same is true of the mid-base display right there. That is different from the base Garmin Instinct editions, as well as the base Garmin Fenix editions, which have a white and then red light as opposed to that green light. So that is one change there. Otherwise, the same brightness level on the white light that you can get quite bright. It's basically the same brightness level as like my iPhone flashlight, same general gist of things. There is multiple levels of brightness that you control, so you don't have to like blind everyone around you, even on the white light setting, if you don't want to. Now, that actually concludes the hardware differences section. There's only one hardware difference there. Garmin does talk about the metal reinforced bezel. Basically means there's a metal kind of piece that goes all the way around the bezel like this, but that was there on the Instinct 3 as well, and it's no different here. This case, this display, this everything is identical to the base Instinct 3 edition. The lens, basically the piece that goes on top of the display there, is also identical in these watches to the base Instinct 3 edition as well. Likewise, the cases are identical in terms of size and weight, and everything's the same there, except there's no orange accents, something that has upset a number of people on the Instinct 3 editions. Let's then talk about the software differences, which is where the majority of these differences are. Now, the very first software difference is the ability to toggle on a night vision mode. This mode basically does two different things depending on which model you're on. Starting off with the AMOLED display one, it'll significantly dim the brightness of that display, and then it turns it to a green-only state, making it friendly for nods or night vision goggles. Now, for the mid-base display, that's the one with no colors on it, that one goes ahead and basically just simply turns off the background backlight so you can't accidentally blind yourself. But it's not going to change anything to green because, again, it's only monochrome as opposed to having all the colors that you might have find on something like the Tactix edition with that MIP-based display. Now, that does work technically just fine, and it has for years on Garmin devices. But one thing to keep in mind is that your NOS, your night vision goggles, are going to have a given focal plane, which means that when you look at your wrist, it's going to appear fuzzy as opposed to the focal plane set in those goggles being quite a bit further out. Now, there's a great video by Prepared Airman, I'll link it down the bottom or something like that, that goes into the nuance of that and why that matters and how you can mitigate it, because there are ways to mitigate it, but definitely check out his video on that where he explains the nuances of it. Next up is stealth mode. Stealth mode is a feature you can enable that turns off all communications on the device. What essentially this is doing is shutting off the Bluetooth. That's notable because your device is always broadcasting kind of very passively your Bluetooth details. So it tells what kind of device is and basically how far away the device is based on signal strength and whatnot. So this does turn it off, and that is actually pretty important. That said, on the flip side, most classified spaces, most SCIFs would not necessarily allow this because of the fact that you can easily turn it back on again. That kind of defeats the purpose of the whole thing, but it's going to depend on that particular SCIF. Next up, there's the kill switch feature. This feature allows you to go ahead and delete all of the user addressable data from the device. So to do so, you simply hold the upper left and lower right button for a split second together, and that'll trigger a 10-second countdown. If for some reason you accidentally do that, you can just simply hit any button to escape out of that. After 10 seconds, it'll reset the device and delete out that user data. That said, I've got a fair bit of experience in this particular realm, and one of the things to note here is this doesn't appear to be doing something that would stand up to foreign actors or things like that, recovering that data at either an advanced software or hardware level. As a simple example of that, I went into the file system, so I basically just plugged this into a laptop, and I created a folder right there, and then in that folder I put some files, and then from there I went ahead and did a kill switch after that. Now, it did go ahead and delete those files out, but the folders remained, and that tells me that it's not doing any sort of complete wipe of the entire segment there. It's just simply deleting out the files and then calling it donezo. So look at this more as a very casual delete as opposed to something that would stand up to the rigors of a device that would normally carry confidential or classified information. That's a whole different level of deletion and wipes and destroying the data compared to what appears to be going on here. Next, there's the rucking activity. This is actually pretty new to Garmin, only about a month or so old. It was introduced on the Tactix 8, and now we're seeing it here on the Instinct 3 Tactical as well. It was also added to the Garmin Fenix 8 in a beta update a couple weeks ago as well. What this allows you to do is to go ahead and specify the pack weight, and then you can track that pack weight both in the activity as well as afterwards on Garmin Connect. This will not, however, change your caloric burn, and the reason for that is that Garmin argues that caloric burn is going to be taken care of via your increased heart rates as opposed to the weight itself. Now that's different than muscular load, and so that's a whole different ballgame, and Garmin doesn't track muscular load fatigue. They only track the aerobic side of that equation, but still it's handy to be able to track that load and maybe see what impact that has on your data over longer periods of time. Next up is Jump Master mode. Another feature that's been around Next up is Jump Master mode. This is actually one of the very first features Garmin introduced on their Tactix watches years and years and years ago, and essentially this feature is all about helping you jump out of a perfectly good airplane. So this allows you to set what kind of drop type you're doing, and then from there you can set your drop altitude, your opening altitude, your dip coordinates, and then from there you can add in your wind information as well, and then get navigation details to the dip. All again, stuff that Garmin has had in their watches for a number of years. Next is the applied ballistics integration. Now, this has also been in the watches for a couple years now, and it's one of the features here that on the Instinct level devices requires you to have a separate payment to enable at least the solver portion, versus their Tactix watches that cost an extra $1,000 over this, that does come included for free. So there are two pieces here involved. Number one is the piece, the solver on the actual watch itself, and number two is the integration to the Applied Ballistics app, the AB Quantum app. So it's the solver piece that costs money. And here is a chart here with the two different levels. There's the $100 level for light, and then the elite option on the right for $300. This is a unlock fee that you do, and it unlocks a feature on the watch. And this chart is super long, so I've broken it into two pieces there, and you can see which features are offered at which level. Whereas the integration with the AB Quantum app piece, that is free, and that allows you to go ahead and use the Garmin, whereas that allows you to use the Applied Ballistics app with your Garmin Instinct device to go ahead and manage profiles and targets, as well as to use that smartphone app as an extended display. Now, those are the pieces that are unique, but there are like 4 to 5 other pieces that people often get confused as being tactical only edition pieces, and I just want to briefly cover those. I know that they are available on the base Instinct edition, so if those are the 4 or 5 pieces that you cared about, then you don't need the tactical edition for that. Number 1 is dual grid coordinates. This is available on the base Instinct devices. It has been for years, and is also available on the tactical editions. Number 2 is zero laser location sensor integration. Again, available on the base edition as well as on the tactical edition. Number 3, the project waypoints app or feature. This allows you to go ahead and basically say, hey, I'm going to hold this heading over yay, and I want to know the coordinates 1,000 feet, 1,000 meters that way, and it'll tell you the exact coordinates for whatever distance you specify in whatever heading you are focused on. That is also available in the base Instinct editions. Next is the tactical sport profile. That too is available in the base Instinct edition, and that is essentially like a hike profile, but it has a dual grid piece already set up for you as well as the elevation already set up for you. You could recreate that profile pretty easily yourself, but this goes ahead and just has it in one shot, kind of quick and easy to access. Point being, those are all available in that base watch. You don't need the tactical edition for those. You do need the tactical edition for the LED flashlight, as well as the kill switch, the stealth mode, the night vision mode, the applied ballistics integration, and the jump master mode. There you go. It's just honestly as simple as that. Now, if you check out my full in-depth review of the Garmin Instinct 3 models, I go into all the accuracy testing of the optical heart rate sensor on the back, of the dual band or multi-frequency GPS that's in this, of the battery life, all those features there, and all the testing on that across all sorts of different scenarios. Check out that review, either written review down below or the video review up in the corner there to dive into all that. This is, again, the exact same watch from an everything standpoint in those particular areas. Anyways, again, if you found this video interesting and useful, go ahead and hit subscribe or like at the bottom for plenty more sports technology goodness. With that, have a good one.